Price is king, it's where we belong. Stay with the dream, don't lose your way. Right way's the fire that'll light the day. Keep it simple, let the moment arrive. 3-8 trap keeps the hope alive. Hold on tight till the signal's near. Right way's the trail, we're breaking through fear.
Good morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for September 22nd, 2025. Well, I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend, got a little rest, ready for another wild and crazy week here in the markets. Let's settle in and let's take a look at what happened in the overnight. First off, if we take a look at Asian markets, we had Australia up 37.40 or 0.43% higher. Hong Kong was down $200.96 or 0.76%. South Korea was up 23.41 at 0.68%. The Nikkei zooming again up 447.85 or 0.99%. India fell pretty sharply down 124.70% or 0.49%, and Shanghai was higher by $8.48 or 0.22% overnight. Let's take a look at what's going on here in Europe this morning. Europe is showing just a little bit of a mix here this morning, with the DAX down 157.14 or 0.66%. The FTSE is up by only $3.99 or 0.04%, and the CAC is lower by $19.37 or 0.26% this morning. If we take a look at U.S. futures, they've been bouncing around a little bit. In fact, they've improved a little bit since I first looked at the futures markets this morning. It is down in the Dow $129 even at the moment. S&P 500 futures down $16.25. and NASDAQ futures down $69.25 here this morning. So keep an eye on those here today. If we take a look at what's going on in bond prices here this morning, well, those bonds, a little bit of interesting price action in here. There's, since we've lowered rates, the Fed lowered rates, it hasn't taken too well to the market, I guess, and we've got actual mortgage rates going higher here since then. So pretty interesting situation. If we take a look at current bond prices, the 2-year bond is at 3.57% here this morning. 10-year bond has moved up to 4.13%, and that 30-year bond is coming in at 4.74%. So kind of an interesting situation here on those bonds. Now, as a result, if we take a look at the U.S. dollar here this morning, we are just ever so slightly weaker. We had 3 really nice days to the upside. The key here is going to be getting through this resistance and downtrend here in the chart on that dollar. So we'll want to be watching that carefully, pulling back just a little bit. If we were to fail here, that could be a little bit of a problem for us on that dollar. If we take a look, it is now down $16 this morning in dollar, or 16 cents this morning in dollar futures. Now, the result of that, if we take a look at what's going on in gold, oh my goodness, gold is zooming this morning. Right now, gold is up $54.90 an ounce, or 1.48%, coming in at $3,759 an ounce here this morning. If we take a look at silver, silver is also zooming here this morning. continuing that stretch that started on that reversal on Friday. Silver is up $1.10 an ounce, or 44.05 an ounce, and we may be heading up here toward these. I'm going to go to the weekly. These all-time highs. Next resistance level I'm showing here is about 41.78 in SLV, so keep an eye on that. We are really stretching here in precious metals. Copper this morning also a little bit higher. We've got COPX on the minor side here showing a nice bullish pattern in here, pushing up this morning. Right now copper is up about a penny and a half here this morning, so keep an eye on that. Platinum is moving higher, breaking through some resistance here in the chart. Right now up $14.50 an ounce on platinum. And if we take a look at palladium, palladium is also moving higher this morning. Now this gave up this upside trend, and we still have resistance there in palladium, but moving up strongly this morning, up $34.40 an ounce, or 2.94%. If we take a look at the impacts here today on crypto, pretty rough on crypto here this morning. IBIT or Bitcoin ETF, you can see big gapping down here on that here today, giving up support levels in the chart and trend as well. Right now down 3,033.88 a coin here, or 2.63% on Bitcoin. If we take a look at Ether, Ether is also dropping substantially. Right now down 331.13 a coin, 7.35% here this morning. And Solana, if we take a look at that, there we go. Dropping huge, $17.58, or 7.39% here this morning. So pretty bearish and red across the board in those cryptos, with substantial pullbacks coming into play. So not feeling too healthy there. If we take a look at oil prices here this morning, USO is also pulling back. Oil futures down at the moment 32 cents at 62.07 a barrel. If we take a look at Brent crude coming in at 66.33, and natural gas a little bit higher here in the futures, but we're showing the UNG ETF going lower. Nat gas at this very moment in the futures up about a penny. So keep an eye on this here today as well. If we take a look at the producers, well, those producers are also pulling back here today, giving up some support, and a possible double top high in here. So keep a close eye on this. A lot of things moving around here this morning in this overbought situation here that we saw in the market going into Friday. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Monday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at these index charts, see if we can figure out how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, we want to look at these charts for what they are, not for what we want them to be. We want to take a real close look at them and shake off that bias. Remember, we want to just really focus in on the potentials here in price action. And looking at this today, well, we're so close to all-time highs here. You know, Friday closing at all-time highs. As a matter of fact, we just kept making all-time highs most of the week last week, particularly in the SPY and the QQQ. And this morning, we'll want to be watching this closely. It's a little bit of a gap down here this morning going on, but there's nothing bad here. If I were to draw that line in there a little bit tighter, we really haven't given up the upside trend yet with this gap down, so no particular worries there. If the bears were to continue to have anything to say before we get any kind of concern at all, I think we're going to have to break back down below this area here in the chart. And then honestly, pulling back into there and bouncing wouldn't be any problem at all. We would probably have to take out that low here in the chart and maybe even reverse that big white candle here, breaking on down there before we would see any major worry here in the market. What we have been seeing is kind of an overbought situation here for some time in the market, a big stretch in some of these charts, so watch that carefully. But if the bulls can shake this off, and we've been known to do that over and over and over here in this market, we get a little bit of a shake up here and then we just don't care, and the buyers just come racing back in. So watch that carefully. If those bulls can get going, every reason to believe they could pop through there, stretch on up, and even set new record highs here by the end of the day. There's no way you can look at that chart at the moment and see bearishness. I do have a little bit of worry, though, that we might be just a little bit overbought, a little tired here in the market, and we could rest as we wait for the next round of earnings. Let's take a look at our SPY. SPY, well, you can see what we've got going on here in the pre-market. The pre-market had a pretty good gap down setting up there in S&P 500, and then we started building that back up here in the pre-market, trying to push back up. So if those bulls can continue to find that inspiration here in the chart, well, I think there's every reason to believe they can break back right back through here, pushing up, catching new record highs in the market. Doesn't obviously seem like all that much of a ask here for that to occur. If, however, those bears were to have anything to say here in the market and they push back, you can see giving up this area of price support is a little bit concerning, but I don't think it'll be any major problem unless we probably break down below that low. If we were to break down below there, that would raise some concern, I think, in the market, and we would see a little bit of pain starting to show up in there. If we were to go right on through this area of price support into this bigger area of price support, that's where some real pressure could show up. And if you take a look at the moving averages in here, maybe a pushback in here toward the 34 would be possible. It would be breaking below there that would really add some pain here to the market. Now, when we take a look at the QQQ also just lower here this morning. But my goodness, there's nothing about that chart that's bearish, as you can see, as we continue to stretch and stretch and stretch. This has been an unbelievable stretch, in my opinion. But that being said, I don't see any major problems here with a pullback or a little bit of a rest in the market. If we were to rest back here and hold anything above this area here, I think we're probably in pretty good shape. No particular worries there. It would be if we were to fall below that level. And you can see that the way the market's been moving lately, we could shake this off pretty quickly and push right on through and set some new record highs in the market. I don't see that being an impossible thing to do. I will say that we are very stretched in the short term here after rejecting and testing the 50-day, and we've pretty much been up every day since then, just stretching and stretching and stretching to the upside. So maybe a little bit carried away here. We might need a little bit of rest, and largely just due to the fact that we're in that blackout period for earnings. And we may just see a nice little resting consolidation or choppy consolidation heading into the next round of earnings. And then if we take a look at our IWM pulling back here today, but there's no problem there. As you can see, very, very bullish chart, still running in a very bullish pattern. Easy to see if those bulls have anything to say. they could pop right back up here and we'd be testing that all-time high in resistance. Obviously, Friday we tried to stretch on through, kind of rejected that a little bit. But if the bears were to follow through to the downside, we have pretty good support right in here on price action support in IWM with the upside trend and that price action in here. And if we went even a little bit lower, still really good price action support in there on that. So I don't see any major concerns here in IWM. But of course, anytime we kind of hit an overbought situation and we start catching a little bit of fear, remember, there's a lot of folks and a lot of the market is long. And so you're going to see that situation where a lot of people, if the selling continues, could really be hitting that exit button really quickly. And that gives us that opportunity of a pretty sharp move if those bears were to get going. Let's take a look at our VIX. Our VIX here this morning, we'll want to be watching that pretty closely. I want you to notice that although we've been tearing it up to the upside, particularly in the tech sector, we've got this little teeny tiny upside trend in here. While the market has been stretching and stretching and stretching up, we've been seeing fear holding a little bit of strong. It may, or holding strong, and it may be a little bit of that acknowledgement in here of some concern in the market of an overbought condition. So watch that carefully. If the bulls have anything to say here today, well, we should push that right back on down into this low and maybe even break that little upside trend, making new lows in the VIX. If the bears, however, have anything to say and we see that stretching on through here, I don't think it's going to be any major concern unless we break through this area of resistance in the chart. Unfortunately, that would be a little bit of a break in that little higher low. That's where selling can come in. So if those bears do get going, if they have a reason to get going here, watch carefully. There is some advantage to what the bears, for the bulls here today, because there's not much in the news except a whole bunch of Fed talk here today. So kind of keep that in mind. Now, if we take a look at what we've got going here in our T2122, T2122 on Friday continued to stretch back higher here, pushing up for a while and then reversing down, as you can see, even though we had some new record highs in the markets. Well, our T2122 faded back here, and we ended up closing the day below 50% here in T2122. It's just showing you that a lot of stocks were selling while we were still making record highs. And that does put us in that little bit of concern area in the market. Now, can the bears or can the bulls just shake this off and push us back up? We've certainly seen that before, and that possibility does exist. We've got a pretty good room for them now to push to the upside if they can shake this off. If the bears were to follow on through, just kind of keep in mind, we've got a pretty good opportunity for them as well. And it could get painful if you've been kind of chasing stocks to the upside here. I've been warning to be careful about chasing already extended stocks and to have a plan in case a rollover were to occur. Unfortunately, what we see a lot nowadays is it happens overnight, that you won't see it coming. They'll just gap it the other direction in the morning. So unfortunately, could be a little bit of pain coming into some folks' account first thing this morning. Now, if we take a look at T2108, T2108 also pulled back on Friday, but it wasn't critical. You can see we pulled back, we held in here above 50%. We did slip just back below 55%, but we've got good support in that chart. As a matter of fact, I think we could slip easily down here to 50% and still be holding in there pretty pretty well. So no major issues there. If we were to break below there, obviously that might raise a little bit of concern if we get more than 50% of the stocks back below their 40-day. So watch that carefully. Now, if the bulls can shake this off, I think there's every reason to believe they could. If they shake this off and bounce up out for this area of support, look for a retest of these areas up in here between 55 and 60% in the chart on T2108. Pretty much the same here in T2107, but T2107 actually held up a little bit better on Friday. You can see no particular worries in here. Didn't quite make it back up there to 55% of the stocks above their 200, but you can see we've got a whopper of a support in here around 50%. So if we were to push down here this morning and continue that push, breaking down through there might raise some concern. We'll want to watch that carefully, but if we found that area of support and bounced right back off, I don't see any problem with that. We could even, if we shake this off this morning and reverse back up, watch some of that area of resistance right in here. Obviously quite a bit of congestion and pretty overbought here in the longer term. But we'll see if we catch any fade or whatever. It doesn't necessarily mean the bears are just going to come flying in with an attack if we can hold some support levels in the chart. And then if we take a look at our T2101, the breadth of the market is what concerns me. Absolute breadth of the market as we were continuing to stretch and make new record highs. We have a whopper of a divergence here in breadth. The participation rate in this market has been abysmal. As we rallied back up off those 50-day moving average tests, just continuing to stretch higher in the markets while the breadth continues to fall. Notice we're in a pretty rare area here. And so what we don't want to see, and what I think we might see, is we might see a day like today where the breadth starts to push back, but the bears are in control. And if that occurs, if those bears really grab a hold here, we could see that market have a little bit of a painful result if the bears really start to pick up on some energy here. I certainly can't say that's the case. Obviously, if those bulls can fight back on this today and push this and turn this right back around, we could also rally on a bullish move. But my goodness, we need to get something going here, because we tried to pop a couple of times the last few days and it was always in the pre-market. Pop in the pre-market just enough to get new record highs coming in, and then our breadth just faded straight back into some new lows. Pretty ugly situation here on that so far. So watch that carefully here. If that were to continue moving lower, it puts us in a danger area of the market. I think a pretty substantial danger area of the market. Let's take a look at what we have going on here in some stocks here this morning. But first, let's take a look at what we've got on our economic calendar. Today, it is extremely light. Not much going on here. We got a Chicago National Activity Report here. Not a market mover. These are the last readings on that. They were negative. Not good, but we did see some good numbers here toward the end of last week. So maybe that picks up a little bit here. Watch that carefully. But then it's all about Fed speak and bond auctions here today. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 Fed speakers here today, and a couple of bond auctions, a 3 and a 6-month bond auction, where we're going to be auctioning off billions of dollars in debt again. But nobody seems to care much about that. So if we take a look into Tuesday, it's a pretty much dead day as well. Current accounts, we've got a PMI flash number. Bostic is going to be speaking, or Redmond Fed manufacturing, which not a market mover, and then some bond auctions here on Tuesday. Wednesday, we're going to pick up with the mortgage applications as normal. We're going to get new home sales and a petroleum status number with, of course, some more bond auctions and some Fed speak in here. It's going to be Thursday where things will ramp up here a little bit. And one of the things we could see in this blackout period of the market is this could be really light and choppy, kind of dead price action. So don't rule out the possibility that it's a little bit of a boring 3 days as we wait for durable goods reports and then that GDP number on Thursday, international trading goods, jobless claims, we've got corporate profits, retail inventories, wholesale inventories, some more Fed speak, existing home sales, quarterly services survey, natural gas report, some bond auctions, and some more Fed speak. So it is a busy Thursday, and then we're going to wrap up the week with the Fed's favorite inflation number, and that's going to be personal incomes and outlays. We've got a Barkin speaking consumer sentiment report and a Baker Hughes rig count. Now, if we take a look at what we've got going on in our earnings calendar, well, it's not much of anything. We really don't have anything to worry about here on a Monday for earnings. There really isn't anything particularly notable here for today. So it's pretty normal in this time of this period of the quarter. Just not much going on. But Mart is the only thing that I've got on the list at all. It's not notable, but the only thing on the list reporting this morning. So no particular worries there. And if we look this afternoon, we've got FLY and GNFT. So when it comes to data to move the market, as you can see, really light on that data here today from the earnings and economic calendar. And with the big hurry up and wait for GDP numbers and a durable goods report on Thursday, well, you could see where there could be a lot of choppiness here in the market. So keep a close eye on that. Now, let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, please click that subscribe button on YouTube and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, clicking that thumbs up button, leaving a brief comment, that helps about as much as anything. Thank you so much. Remember, guys, it doesn't cost you anything at all to support the channel. Just click that subscribe button. There's no fee, no charge, and it really does help in support any creator that you follow with their channel. It helps them a bunch. So thank you so much for those of you who do that. I truly appreciate it. Let's take a look at some of these stocks that could be setting up for today. Remember, everyone, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. And I gotta say, there is a pretty good chance a lot of the stocks we look at here today could end up with a little bit of a bearish pattern here. We've been so extended, there's not too many great short trade setups at the moment because we're so extended. So with that in mind, we're going to continue to look at long side setups, but be really careful chasing into a lot of these. Take a look at Valero. Boy, I really like the way Valero is setting up in here. Very, very bullish upside trend. You can see that nice little resting pattern in there, extended on up, rest back here to trend. Every reason to believe that could extend on up. Keep an eye on Valero. That's just looking pretty good. Take a look at rig in here. Now I have a bias on this one because I have been holding rig. It pulled back pretty hard on Friday, got some volatility in there. Really nice profit in the trade, but I'll be watching this carefully here. If we were to really sink on this, I might cut it loose. But what I like about this chart is this massive break of this long-term downtrend, trying to show some bullishness in here. So as long as it rests or consolidates out here toward trend, I have no problem. I'm willing to wait on that, but watch that carefully for that potential to push right on through here. I'm going to a couple other stocks in here in that sector. Take a look at APA. Very bullish in here. Yes, we've had a pullback to trend and support, but I would be watching if we can catch any kind of bullish action in here for that to push on through to the upside. That might be a big lift today, the way the pre-market's looking, but keep an eye on stocks like that. You might want to keep an eye on Cleveland Cliffs. Cleveland in the steel area. Anytime we see dollar falling, look to commodities for some bullishness. Cleveland Cliffs setting up in here nicely, and there is that opportunity. Cleveland could start moving right on through to the upside. If you take a look at Steel Dynamics had a really good close on Friday, really stretching through that resistance in the chart. Every reason to believe with the dollar weakening that could move on higher. Little rest, little consolidation in there might set that up to the upside. So keep an eye on some of those steel stocks out there. You might want to look at Nucor and things like that in the charts. Kind of keep a close eye on what's going on here in Meta. Meta's had a nice little resting consolidation in here. You big tech folks out there, keep a close eye on this. If those buyers can step up in here, every reason to believe that could push right on through there in Meta. So watch that carefully here. I'd be a little bit careful with NVIDIA here this morning. NVIDIA, although it's attempting to hold some support in here, we are reaching the peak of this wedging pattern in here, and I think this has about a 50% chance of popping through to the upside or to the downside. So watch that carefully here on NVIDIA. With the bearishness of the day, be really careful. Be really careful on that. If we take a look at some other areas of the market, take a look at electronic arts. EA holding in a nice bullish pattern here, and you can see in the pre-market trying to push up. So watch that carefully here. If EA can pick up and get going in here, might be able to break out of that resistance and push right on through to the upside. Worth taking a look at. TTWO Take Two has also been in a very bullish upside run, breaking through resistance here in the chart. May just see that move on through to the upside as well, with a little bit of buy action here in the market. Take a look at some of the major banks out there. If you take a look at XLF hammered in here yesterday on Friday, pushing up, but we're gapping down here this morning. As long as we can hold that little upside in here, may have that opportunity for that to push on through in there. Keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on some of the pay systems out there, like Visa, that's been trying to come back up here in the chart. I am a little bit worried today that what we could end up doing out of this wedge, and here's that wedge that I'm talking about, out of this wedge, we have that potential that we could go either direction. So if you're looking for something on the short side, you might want to keep an eye on something like Visa. But boy, you can't say the same on American Express. Very bullish in here, pushing through, every reason to believe with just a little bit of rest, a little bit of consolidation in here, we might have AXP just pulling back into trend and support for that next stretch to the upside. Looking pretty good overall in that chart. So no major worries here in the market with a pullback. We've been so overextended that maybe we just need a little bit of a rest. But There's still an awful lot of bullish charts like General Motors in here that could be setting up. Still like the way FCX on the miner side. Keep an eye on miners with gold and silver doing what it's doing this morning. GDX just tearing it up. GDXJ, you can look at Barrick Gold, you can look at like KGC, the miners, my goodness, really strong moves. And if the dollar continues to fall, I would keep an eye on anything in that commodity area of the market. So with that, everyone, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. I want to wish you great results in your trading. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I really appreciate that. Be a little bit careful today. We could see some volatility over the next 3 days as we wait for that GDP report and the personal incomes and outlays number. But other than that, stay the course, stay with the trend until the trend breaks. I wish you all the best, and I will see you right back here bright and early Tuesday morning. Have a great day, everyone.
Black and white candles, my stars in the dark. Price is my king, got that fire and spark. Rideways my ranch on the trader's trail. Trading with heart where the profits prevail.